Hello friends. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Monday if you don't celebrate anything. So as you can tell, we had a bit of a Bookmas fail this year. I originally had 2 more videos that I had filmed and was editing, and I just felt like I was repeating the same books over and over again, and that wasn't what I wanted my Bookmas videos to be. I didn't just want to talk about the same books for each of the different tropes that might be in it. So I'm here today to do the last set of recommendations that I had. I have 6 different tropes. I think one I have 6 books for, and the rest I have like 4 and 5. And they just didn't feel worthy enough, I guess, of their own individual trope videos. So I'm here. You can't see it. I have a Christmas tree book shirt. This was my present from my boss this year. And I'm going to give you some recommendations for these last 6 tropes that I have. So to start off with, I have 3 royalty romances. This first one is Sapphire Flames by Ilona Andrews. I unfortunately don't have a physical copy of this. I don't remember if I listened to the audiobook or if I borrowed it from my sister. So this is the 2nd trilogy in the Hidden Legacy series by Ilona Andrews. And this one is about names. This was about Catalina and Alessandro. And the Hidden Legacy series is kind of I guess like an urban fantasy world. It's set in Houston, and Catalina's family, her sister is the main character in the first trilogy set. That's the way I meant to say that. But now it's her turn, and she's kind of taking over the family, and she's discovering these new magical powers that she has. And then Alessandro is from like a royalty family in this Hidden Legacy world. And throughout this first book, and then their trilogy of them as a couple, he always feels really drawn to help Catalina, and it's kind of a fated mates thing. I don't know if it's ever actually called that. I don't remember exactly, but that's kind of what it is. I have another fantasy romance, and that is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is in her Never After series, kind of twisted fairy tales where the villains are the heroes of the romances. It's about Sarah B, and she is, I don't remember if she's a princess or why exactly, but she has been kind of forced into this arranged marriage with the king, and decides that she's going to free the kingdom, she's going to free herself, and she's going to kill the king. Well, in the process of trying to figure out how to go about that, she forms kind of an alliance with the king's brother, who, so this one is the Lion King base, so it's the Scar and Mufasa-like thing. But Sarah B falls kind of into this alliance and into lust with the Scar character, who is Tristan, he's like the scarred prince. He has like a big scar on his face. And through them trying to figure out each other's motives for helping each other, they like fall into this romance, and this was so good. This was my favorite in this Never After series. And then finally I have a contemporary romance, and that is A Nordic King by Karina Halley. Karina Halley does have this series of royal romances, but this was really the only one that I really loved. So this one is about Aurora and Axel. Aurora, she is a nanny, and she is just leaving the family that she's been with for a while, and she applies for this new nanny position, and then gets there and realizes that it is for the single father king. I believe he had 2 daughters that he needed a new nanny for. So this one is kind of a grumpy sunshine. Aurora is trying to help the 2 little girls through their grieving process, but Axel the king is very grumpy about the whole situation with his ex and the girl's mother. And so yeah, it's a grumpy sunshine, it's a boss nanny, it's a royalty romance. It hits all the tropes, and it's really good. So next up, I have a couple of celebrity romances. One is at the bottom of my shelves, and I did not feel like getting it out. It is The Hunter by Kerrigan Byrne. This is my favorite historical that I've ever read. This one is about Millie and Christopher Argent. Millie is a stage actress, and Christopher Argent is hired to kill her. In the process of finding out more about her routine and when would be the best time to kind of take her out silently, he's basically stalking her and starts to observe her a lot and observe her in moments when she doesn't really know she's being observed, and he really kind of changes his mind on the person that hired him to take her out, and he decides that he's going to protect her and he's not going to let anything happen to her, and he's going to figure out why this other person that hired him has something against her. But yeah, like I said, it's my favorite historical. I also have The Brat by Willa Nash Devaney Perry. This is the first in her Calamity Montana series. This one is about Duke and Lucy. Duke is the sheriff or the chief of police or something in the small town of Calamity, Montana. And one day, I think it's on a hike, he ends up saving Lucy and her friend from a wild... Was it a buffalo? It was some type of wild animal. I forget what exactly. But he ends up saving her. She gives him this fake name that she's using. And then the second time they meet is him, he's pulling her over for speeding or something like that. And he asks for her driver's license. So she gives it the one with her real name on it. And he, wants to know why she's given him this fake name, why she's going by something else. She's this famous country singer, and believe she's running from an abusive relationship or an abusive manager or something like that, and so she's trying to hide out in the small town, and he offers to help her. Next up, I have The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one is about Drew and Josh. Drew is a famous singer. I believe she's been in this pop rock band. And she has this ex-boyfriend who is a very toxic relationship, and he is trying to get her back, and so he invites her on this Hawaiian vacation. And she gets there and realizes that he's not there, but his family is, and he's invited her on this family vacation because he knows that the family is something that she's always wanted. So he's manipulating her into trying to get back together with him. But he ends up not showing because he is in jail in Japan or something. He's been on tour and was supposed to be taking a break to meet her in Hawaii. But his brother, Josh, is there. And Josh he's kind of like the stereotypical older brother to this wild child younger brother who's this toxic ex-boyfriend. He's very serious. He's a doctor. Kind of all of the opposite things of Drew and her ex-boyfriend. And since that ex-boyfriend doesn't show up, Drew doesn't really know what to do, but she's convinced by their parents to stay and spend time with the family while she and Josh keep getting thrown together. Her rock star lifestyle and his jet lag always keep them up in the middle of the night, so they'll hang out and they'll talk and that kind of stuff. And they really form a connection through the one-on-one time that they get. And finally, for celebrity romances, I have Muses and Melodies by Rebecca Yarros. This is the third book in the Hush Notes series that she wrote with Serena Bowen and Devaney Perry. But this one's my favorite, so this is the one I decided to talk about. This one is about Nixon and Zoe. Nixon is the lead guitarist for the Hush Note band, and he is dealing with addiction issues. And basically he's given this ultimatum by the record label, and he is given this, he's told that Zoe is going to be around to watch out for him and make sure he stays out of trouble, out of the press, off of drugs, no alcohol, that kind of thing. And Zoe works for this record label, but she feels very out of her element trying to keep Nixon under control. And then he really he thinks she's pretty at first, and then as he gets to know her, he really starts to fall for her. And so in order to kind of prove to her that he is a good guy, he realizes that all of these things that he's been doing have been like self-destructive and that kind of thing. So yeah, Muses and Melodies by Rebecca Yarros. This is my favorite because I love a celebrity handler trope. Next up, I have some grumpy sunshine romances to share with you. First up, I have a dark romance, and that is Carnal Urges by J.T. Geisinger. This one is about Declan and Sloane. This is book 2 in the series. At the end of book 1, Sloane is on her way to visit her friend, who is the main character in that book, and she is kidnapped. And in this one, we find out that she has been kidnapped by Declan because his mafia doesn't get along with the mafia that's in the book 1. So he's very dark and grumpy, and he is the leader of this mafia. And then he kidnaps her, and she's kind of happy-go-lucky about it, kind of just like, oh, well, you know, this is the situation that I'm in now, and, like, this is where we're at, and we can't react to it because, like, we can't be scared because that's just not going to be productive. And so it frustrates him at the beginning, but then, like, as it goes on, he admires her for how she handles things. So, yeah, very grumpy sunshine. I have The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn. This one is about Bonnie and Rowan. Bonnie and her best friend or her sister or somebody answer an online ad about moving to the Scottish Highlands and running this little, I think it was a coffee shop, bookstore little thing. And so they decide that they're going to go, they're going to give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? Well, it's actually Rowan's parents' little store that they're running, and he has been trying to make his parents see that it's not been going well for them, that it hasn't been, like, very financially stable, and then he feels very blindsided by his parents putting out that online ad and offering these two strangers basically to run their, like, family legacy is how he wants his parents to see it. I have Always Only You by Chloe Leese. This is in her Bergman Brothers series. This one is Ren and Frankie. Ren is a professional hockey player, and he's always kind of, like, he's, like, the good guy of hockey. Like, he doesn't get into fights, and he doesn't, like, make dirty hits and everything. And Frankie works for the team, and so they're kind of thrown together every day, like, in their day-to-day. She has a chronic illness, and she is very much the grumpy character in their dynamic, but I feel like if you look at it and, like, if you hear about it, you might think that she's grumpy because of her chronic illness, but she's more grumpy about, or, like, because of people's reactions to her chronic illness and, like, telling her she should be grateful and, like, that she's such an inspiration, and she doesn't want to be an inspiration. She kind of just wants to live her life. And so I feel like that's kind of a different way of looking at the chronic illness rep. And then one of the other things I love is that Rin is very much like, it's fine that she's grumpy. That's just who she is and how she is. And it's not something that she needs to change. She doesn't need to pretend to be happier. I have enough happiness for both of us and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really love these two. Next up, I have some secret relationships. So first up, I have Scoreless Nights by Katie Ray. This one is about Cruz and Lily. Cruz is a professional soccer player. Cruz is a professional soccer player in Miami, and one day his dad asks will he watch out for his stepsister who is moving to Miami to go to some job interviews, and so Lily is actually supposed to be staying with friends, but she ends up, like, thanks to the parents, kind of being forced into staying with Cruz, and it's very much like they weren't raised as siblings. He spent, like, a couple of weeks in the summer with his dad and her mom. But Cruz always kept his distance because, like, the parents got together when they were teenagers. I think she was a couple of years younger than him, but he was, like, 16. She was maybe 14, 15. He always, like, kind of thought she was cute, kind of thought she had a crush on her. Or kind of thought he had a crush on her. So he always, like, kept his distance and, like, would never let him go into, like, the brother territory. Which I think is the only reason the step-sibling thing worked for me. I don't read a lot of step-sibling romances. And I don't know if it's something that I want to get into. But, yeah, this one it kind of seemed more like a family friend thing, because he wasn't raised with her at all. Like I said, they were teenagers, and even after her mom and his dad got married, he wasn't around a lot. So it was more just like him hearing about his stepsister, that kind of thing. But but yeah, obviously once they start forming their own relationship, they're trying to keep it a secret because they don't know how other people will react, how their families will react, that kind of thing. Next up, I have Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is in her Dirty Air series. It's a Formula One romance. This is about Maya and Noah. Maya's brother has become Noah's new Formula One teammate, and she is kind of along for the ride to traveling the world. So basically, they're having to keep it a secret once they start hanging out from her brother, because Noah is his teammate, but also kind of a rival. They've been rivals for several years up until this point when they are thrown together to work together. And it hasn't been the smoothest transition. And so when Maya starts to have feelings for Noah, starts to hang out with him, sees this other side of him, she doesn't really know how her brother is going to react. And so they keep it a secret for a while. The next one is one that I didn't love, so I'm not really going to talk about it for very long. But King of Pride by Anna Huang, book 2 in her Kings of Sin series, is a secret relationship. This one is Kai and Isabella, and the only reason that it's a secret relationship is because Isabella is a bartender at the secret men's club or whatever that Kai is a part of, and they have a rule about fraternization. That's a terrible word, but one of the reasons that I didn't really like it is that there was no reason really for it to be a secret, because even when they're found out, it's not this big thing. Like, spoiler alert, she does get fired, but she bounces back pretty quickly, honestly, and she doesn't really seem that upset about it. So that was just one of my main issues of it was a secret relationship, but there weren't really consequences to it being a secret relationship. So yeah, not my favorite, like I said. Next up, I have An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. This is a sapphic, historical, secret forbidden, kind of forbidden, but also we're talking about secret relationships right now. This one is about Manuela and Cora. Manuela has basically agreed to enter into this arranged marriage to help her family, but has requested one last summer in Paris with her friends to try to go wild or whatever before she settles down. And while she's there, she meets Cora, who she kind of starts to feel like maybe there's a connection between them. And Cora is a widow. I believe she was an older love interest, but basically they both have things that they want that the other one can give them, and they work up a trade. Cora wants this land that Manuela's family owns, and Manuela wants to be shown the sapphic side of Paris, this the underground art side. And through all of these adventures, Manuela basically tries to seduce Cora, but Cora always keeps her at a distance because she's more of a business mind, and she sees that it can't really go anywhere, but once it does, they have to keep it a secret because they have this business deal, so they're keeping it a secret, but also Manuela is engaged to this man, and so that's got to be kept secret. And yeah, this one is really good. I really liked Adriana Herrera's 2 historical romances that I've read. This next one, again, is not one that I really loved, but I'm going to tell you why. The Rebel King by Gina L. Maxwell. This is book 2 in this Dark King Vegas Fae series. This one is about Tiernan and Fiona. And at the end of book 1, Tiernan's older brother has abdicated his throne. So Tiernan is the new king. And Fiona she's basically a servant in their hierarchy of Fae. And they are sneaking around because he doesn't think that he can be with her as the king. And so my issue with this one is, you're the king. You can literally change the rule that could have kept you from her to be with her. And it's very far into the book before he realizes this. And it was just really frustrating because I was like, you're the king. You can do what you want. But Anyway, yeah. Not my favorite. I enjoyed book 1 way more, but I did enjoy the kind of like sneaking around part of it. I just wish that they would have realized sooner like how to fix the issue, but yeah. And finally, for Secret Relationships, I have A Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This one is Reese and Princess Bridget. Bridget is basically next in line to become queen over the kingdom that her family is the royals of. I forget what it's called. And Reese is hired as her bodyguard, and he tries to really set that boundary so that he can protect her, but it doesn't work very well because they are very connected and very drawn to each other. This one, I guess, like, the secret relationship, like, it takes a while to get there. Like, they both kind of give in a little bit, but not all the way. And then when they finally do give in, so yeah, they have to keep it a secret because she is a princess and he is her bodyguard. Okay, next up I have a couple of romantic suspense reads that I want to share. The first one is Code of Ethics by April White. This is in the Cypher Security series. This is the only one I've read in the series, but I believe they're all romantic suspense. So this one is about Dallas and Oliver. Oliver is kind of a tech genius, and he's created this like software that some not so great people are trying to get a hold of, and he hires kind of reluctantly the cybersecurity team to help protect him and his software that he's created. And so basically Dallas is assigned to his case, and in the process of trying to figure out who might be after it and what all they are willing to do to get this software, she finds out that her grandpa is like very seriously sick, and so they go back to where she was raised in the Yukon Territory, and it's kind of a roughing it survivalist area, but her family has been there so long that they have like a really nice setup. So yeah, romantic suspense because these people are after him, and then they end up in this basically like wilderness of where her family lives. I feel like I've hit my wall and we're going to start going through these kind of quickly. I also have the Killer Instincts series by Elle Kennedy. This is book 1, Midnight Rescue. So this series is basically about a group of women assassins and a group of men mercenaries. And there's a whole thing with the bosses. The bosses have one book. But basically, they kind of keep getting hired for like the same jobs, and so they keep running into each other, and so slowly but surely all the women start to fall in love with the men, and it's a thing, but each book really has its own like romantic suspense element, and I feel like this was one of the first like true romantic suspense and not just like small town romantic suspenses that I read, but yeah, highly recommend. And finally, I have some sibling friends romances. I believe they're all brothers' best friend romances, but so I have 2 from Catherine Cowles. Falling Embers from her Tattered and Torn series is Hadley and Calder. Hadley is kind of reckless, and Calder is a single father, and she has always had a crush on him, and he has always had a crush on her, but he doesn't really know how to handle her reckless adventurism without thinking of how the relationship with his kid's mother ended badly because of kind of the same thing. And then I also have Glimmers of You in the Lost and Found series. This one is Caden and Gray. After a very traumatic event, Caden leaves town suddenly. But now that Caden is back, he sees Gray kind of being bothered by an ex-boyfriend that won't leave her alone, and so he kind of takes it upon himself to say like, leave my girl alone, that kind of thing. So it's kind of a fake dating, brother's best friend romances. Yeah, I think Catherine Cowles writes this trope really well. And finally, I have One Touch by Lena Hendricks. This one is about Kate and Beckett. Not only is Beckett Kate's brother's friend, he's also the brother of her ex-boyfriend who was pretty shitty and broke her heart. And now they are working together to restore her aunt's like farmhouse, and so they're thrown together a lot to make decisions on that, and thrown together a lot because she really wants to help in the process. She wanted to do it on her own, but her brothers basically wouldn't let her. They hired Beckett to help. So that is going to be my Bookmas for this year. Thank you guys for bearing with me if you've made it this far. If you have any recommendations for any of the tropes that I've done for Bookmas or this video, leave it for me down below. Thank you guys so much for supporting me through Bookmas and for watching this all the way through. And I will see y'all next time. Bye!